you've been lied to? Being too nice isn't kindness, it's self-destruction. And if you don't fix it, people will keep draining you until there's nothing left. Think about the last time someone crossed your boundaries. You stayed quiet, smiled, and let it slide. But inside, resentment built up. The ancient masters knew this well. True strength isn't about people-pleasing, it's about balance. Today, we're breaking down why being too nice backfires and how to fix it using timeless wisdom. The myth of nice versus true kindness. You've been taught that being nice is good. That saying yes, staying quiet, and never making waves is the right way to live. But here's the truth. Nice is not the same as kind. Nice is what you do because you're afraid. Afraid of conflict, afraid of rejection, afraid of being seen as difficult. Kindness though? Kindness comes from strength. It's the choice to give when you can, not when you have to. Think about the last time someone asked you for a favor you didn't want to do. Maybe it was a coworker pushing extra work on you, a friend always venting but never listening, or a family member demanding your time when you had none left. What did you do? If you said yes just to keep the peace, you weren't being kind. You were being weak. And every time you do that, you teach people one thing: your limits don't matter. The ancient masters knew this well. They didn't waste time with empty politeness. They understood that true respect isn't earned by always saying yes, it's earned by knowing when to say no. A tree that bends too much breaks. A river that never pushes back becomes a swamp. And a person who never sets boundaries, they become a shadow of themselves, drained by everyone around them. So how do you fix this? First, stop confusing niceness with goodness. Being agreeable doesn't make you a better person, it just makes you an easier target. Real kindness requires backbone. It means saying I can't help you this time without guilt. It means walking away from people who only it means understanding that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. This isn't about being harsh, it's about being clear. The moment you start valuing your own peace, something shifts. People who truly care will respect you more. Those who only wanted to use you will leave. And that's not a loss, it's a filter. The next time you feel that pull to say yes when you mean no, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of fear or out of strength? If it's fear, step back. The world won't end if you disappoint someone, but you might start living differently, finally free, finally respected, finally at peace. Why being too nice attracts toxic people? There's a reason you keep running into the same types of people, the ones who demand too much, take without giving, and leave you feeling empty. It's not bad luck, it's not karma, it's energy. Predators, emotional, financial, or otherwise, have a sixth sense for weakness. They can smell hesitation, neediness, and desperation from miles away. And if you're the type who always says yes, always apologizes, always bends to avoid conflict, you're not just a target, you're a magnet. Think of nature. A lion doesn't chase the strongest buffalo in the herd. It goes for the slowest, the weakest, the one that won't fight back. Humans aren't so different. The coworker who dumps extra tasks on you, the friend who only calls when they need something, the partner who pushes your boundaries. They're not doing it because they're evil, they're doing it because you let them. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness. When you're too nice, you send a silent signal: my needs don't matter. And people, consciously or not, respond to that. They push further, ask for more, and act shocked when you finally snap. Then they call you the problem. You've changed. You're so selfish now. No, you're just no longer starving yourself to feed their greed. The masters of old didn't tolerate this. They knew that true strength isn't about aggression, it's about presence. A warrior doesn't need to shout to be respected. His posture, his silence, the way he carries himself, all of it says, I am not prey. You don't have to be cruel to do this. Just firm, just consistent, just unshakable. Start small. The next time someone asks for something that drains you, delay your answer. Say, let me think about it. That simple pause breaks the cycle of automatic people-pleasing. It gives you space to ask, do I really want to do this? If the answer is no, say no. No excuses, No long explanations, just no. At first, it'll feel uncomfortable. You might worry they'll get angry, that they'll leave, that they'll think less of you. But here's the secret. The right people won't. The ones who truly care will adjust. The ones who only wanted to use you, they'll disappear. And that's the point. Your energy is limited. Your time is precious. Guard them like a temple, because when you do, the wrong people leave, and the right ones finally see you. The hidden cost of suppressing anger. You've been told anger is dangerous, that it's something to control, to suppress, to lock away before it causes harm. But what if that's the exact opposite of the truth? What if anger isn't your enemy, but a teacher? Anger is fire, and fire does two things. It destroys and it purifies. The difference lies in how you use it. Suppress it and it burns inward, slowly poisoning your body, your mind, your relationships. It turns into resentment, into sickness, into passive-aggressive words that hurt more than honesty ever could. But channel it. Then it becomes fuel. Then it becomes power. Then it becomes the force that moves you forward instead of eating you alive. Think of the last time you swallowed your anger. Maybe it was when a coworker took credit for your work. Maybe it was when someone you loved spoke to you with disrespect. You bit your tongue. You told yourself, it's not worth the fight. But later, alone, it festered. You replayed the moment again and again, imagining what you should have said. That's not peace. That's slow suffocation. The ancient warriors didn't fear anger. They respected it. They knew it was a signal, a flashing light pointing to where their boundaries had been crossed. A man who never feels anger is not enlightened. He's asleep. He's numb. He's allowed himself to be carved into pieces, so small that nothing matters anymore. But here's the key. Anger is not permission to lash out. It's not an excuse to hurt others. That's not strength. That's losing control. True mastery means feeling the fire without letting it consume you. It means pausing, stepping back, and asking, what is this anger trying to show me? Maybe it's telling you someone has disrespected you one too many times. Maybe it's revealing a place in your life where you've been too passive. Maybe it's simply the exhaustion of pretending everything is fine when it's not. Listen to it, then act, not from rage, but from clarity. The next time anger rises, don't choke it down. Don't let it explode. Sit with it. Let it burn away the lies you've been telling yourself. Then, when the smoke clears, move, speak, set things right. Anger is not your enemy. Silence is. How to say no without guilt. You say yes when you mean no. You give when you have nothing left. You stretch yourself so thin that one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. And why? Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that saying no is selfish, that setting boundaries is cruel, that your worth is measured by how much you can endure. But here's the truth. Every time you say yes to something you don't want, you say no to yourself, to your peace, to your energy, to your life. A master does not explain. He does not bargain. He does not twist himself into knots, trying to make others comfortable at his own expense. When something does not serve him, he simply says, no. No long justifications, no apologies, no guilt. And because he does not waver, people learn to respect his word the first time. Think about how you usually say no. Do you soften it? I'm so sorry. I'd love to. But do you over-explain? It's just that I'm really busy right now. And every extra word is a crack in your resolve. It gives the other person an opening to push, to negotiate, to make you feel even worse for daring to put yourself first. Try this instead. The next time you need to say no, say nothing at first. Just pause, let the silence hang for a moment. Then, if you must speak, keep it simple. I can't do that. That doesn't work for me. No excuses, no drama, just the truth, clean and clear. At first, it will feel unnatural. People might react with surprise, even frustration. They're used to you bending. They're used to you breaking. But stand firm, and something shifts. They adapt. They stop asking so much. And more importantly, you start believing your own worth. Guilt is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you've been conditioned to believe your needs don't matter. Break that conditioning. Say no. Not with anger, not with fear, but with the quiet certainty of a man who knows his own value. The world will try to convince you otherwise. It will call you cold, selfish, unkind. Let it. The right people, the ones who truly care, will understand. The others, they were never yours to keep. Your energy is not infinite. Guard it like the sacred thing it is. Say no, not because you don't care, but because you finally. The warrior's mindset. Firmness without cruelty. There is a quiet strength in knowing exactly where you stand. Not in anger, not in aggression, but in absolute certainty. This is the way of water, soft to the touch. Yet over time it carves through mountains. This is the balance you must find, to stand firm without becoming hard, to hold your ground without needing to push others down. Most people mistake strength for loudness. They think the one who shouts loudest, who fights dirtiest, who demands most aggressively, is the strongest. But true strength needs no performance. It doesn't require an audience. It simply is, like an ancient tree that needs no permission to grow tall, like a mountain that doesn't argue about its right to exist. This is the energy you must cultivate, the unshakable presence that comes from knowing your worth isn't up for debate. Think of how you've compromised in the past, the times you've softened your no to a maybe, the moments you've allowed just one more small exception that became a floodgate of exceptions. Each time you weren't just giving away that single moment, you were eroding the foundation of your self-respect. The warrior understands this. He knows that every negotiation of his boundaries is a step backward. Every justification of his needs is energy wasted. But here's what most miss. Firmness doesn't require meanness. You don't need to insult to be respected. You don't need to hurt others to protect yourself. The most powerful masters speak few words, but each one carries weight. They don't explain themselves endlessly. They don't bargain with their peace. They simply state what is and what isn't. Then let their actions follow. Practice this today. In your next conversation, where you'd normally bend, stand straight, not with aggression, but with quiet certainty. Speak less, but mean every word. You'll find something remarkable happens. People begin to listen differently. They lean in rather than push again, because the world responds to those who respond to themselves first. This isn't about controlling others, it's about governing yourself. When you stop the internal debate about whether you deserve to take up space, the external battles disappear. People will treat you exactly as you teach them to. Show them through unwavering action, where your lines are drawn, and watch how rarely they need to be tested. The 3-second rule for boundaries. Your greatest weakness isn't your inability to say no, it's how quickly you say yes. That instant agreement, that automatic compliance, that reflexive people-pleasing that happens before you've even consulted yourself. This is what drains you. This is what leaves you exhausted, resentful, wondering how you ended up here again. But there is a simple remedy, a space between request and response, where your true answer can emerge. The 3-second rule is this. When asked for your time, energy or resources, pause, count silently. 1, 2. In that brief window, something miraculous happens. You remember you have a choice. The automatic pilot disengages, the people-pleasing reflex falters, and in that space, your authentic response has room to surface. Most never create this space. They're so conditioned to immediate compliance that they've lost touch with their own desires. Like a leaf blown by every wind, they move whichever way the pressure comes from. But you are not a leaf, you are the tree, rooted, growing, deciding which winds will move you and which will pass by unchanged. Practice this today. The next request that comes your way, no matter how small, give yourself those 3 seconds. Notice the immediate urge to say yes. Feel the discomfort of the pause. Then decide, not from fear of their reaction, but from knowledge of your capacity. You'll be shocked at how often your genuine answer isn't the automatic yes you've been trained to give. This isn't about becoming selfish, it's about becoming conscious. Every time you pause, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every time you choose rather than comply, you strengthen your ability to show up authentically in the world. The people who matter won't fear your pause. They'll respect it. Those who demand instant compliance were never your allies to begin with. Start small. A 3-second pause before answering a text, a breath before agreeing to a favor. These tiny moments of awareness accumulate into something transformative. The ability to move through the world, not as a puppet pulled by others' strings, but as a sovereign being, choosing each step with intention. The warrior knows his greatest power lies not in his sword, but in his ability to choose when to draw it. Your power lies not in your ability to serve all demands, but in your wisdom to know which ones align with your path. 3 seconds is all it takes to remember that. 3 seconds is all it takes to begin changing everything. Why people test your limits and how to stop it. People will always test where your boundaries lie. Not because they're evil, but because it's human nature to seek the edges of what's possible. Like water finding cracks in a dam, people will naturally probe for weaknesses in your resolve. The problem isn't that they test. The problem is how often we fail the test without even realizing it's happening. Every time you let a rude comment slide, every time you laugh off disrespect, every time you make excuses for someone's poor behavior, you're not keeping the peace. You're drawing a map for how they can treat you in the future. The first offense is never the problem. It's the 100th offense that breaks you, and by then, when you finally react with the anger that's been building for months, you're labeled as unreasonable. You never had a problem with it before, they'll say, and they'll be right. That's exactly the problem. The solution isn't to wait until you're full of rage. The solution is to address the first transgression calmly, clearly, immediately. Not with emotion, but with simple truth. When someone speaks to you disrespectfully, a simple "that tone isn't necessary" stops the pattern before it begins. When someone pushes past your stated boundaries, a quiet "I already answered that" teaches them you mean what you say. This isn't about being harsh or confrontational. It's about being consistent. Most boundary violations start small. A slightly demanding request, a mildly disrespectful comment, a small push against your stated limits. These are tests. When you let them pass, the tests get bigger. When you respond firmly to the small things, you rarely need to deal with the big ones. Think of training any intelligent creature, a dog, a horse, a child. The correction must come immediately after the unwanted behavior, not hours later, when your frustration boils over. The same applies to all human interactions. The moment matters. Your response in that moment sets the pattern for everything that follows. The people who respect you will adjust immediately when you gently correct them. Those who argue or make you feel guilty for asserting basic respect were never going to honor your boundaries anyway. This isn't loss, it's filtration. Better to discover someone's unwillingness to respect you early, when the stakes are small, than after you've invested years in the relationship. Start today. The next small violation, the backhanded compliment, the guilt trip, the pushy request, address it. Not tomorrow, not when it happens again. Now, calmly, without apology. Watch how quickly people learn where your lines are drawn when you consistently show them where those lines exist. The art of strategic silence. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill empty spaces with words, explanations, justifications. This is weakness disguised as conversation. The master knows that silence isn't emptiness. It's the most powerful space of all. In silence, truth reveals itself. In silence, intentions become clear. In silence, you maintain control while others lose it by talking too much. Think about every time you've over-explained yourself, every time you've talked just to ease tension, every time you've given away your power by speaking when saying nothing would have served you better. Now think of the people who command respect without demanding it. how often they're comfortable sitting in silence while others squirm. This is no accident. Strategic silence works because it reverses the normal power dynamic. When someone makes an unreasonable request and you immediately respond, you're playing on their field. When you pause, when you let their words hang in the air, you create space where none existed before. In that space, several things happen. They often reveal more than intended. They frequently backtrack or modify their request, and they always become more aware of your presence and power. Practice this today. The next time someone asks something of you that feels off, don't answer immediately. Look at them. Breathe, count to 3 in your head. Notice how often they start talking again, filling the silence with concessions or explanations you didn't even ask for. This is the power of silence. It makes people negotiate with themselves before you've said a word. Silence also serves as protection. Most people give away too much information too quickly, explaining their position before understanding the other person's intentions. The master listens first, speaks last. When confronted or challenged, a simple "I'll consider that" or interesting perspective gives you time to think while revealing nothing. The less you say, the less can be used against you. This isn't about being cold or manipulative. It's about recognizing that words have weight, and careless speech erodes your position. Every unnecessary explanation is a crack in your foundation. Every rushed answer is a potential regret. Silence allows you to respond from wisdom rather than react from emotion. Begin with small silences. Pause before answering questions. Resist the urge to fill conversational gaps. Notice how uncomfortable silence makes others, and how that discomfort often works in your favor. As you practice, you'll find silence becomes not just a tool, but a refuge, a place of power where you're never rushed into decisions or pressured into positions you don't want to hold. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. True strength often whispers, and sometimes it says nothing at all.
Rebuilding self-respect after years of people-pleasing. The path to reclaiming your self-respect begins with the smallest of actions, saying no when you've always said yes. That first refusal will feel uncomfortable, like a muscle atrophied from disuse being asked to work again. The discomfort isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof you're doing something right. That tightness in your chest when you decline an unreasonable request, that's not fear. It's the death rattle of your old, compliant self, making way for someone stronger. People-pleasing is an addiction, and like any addiction, breaking free requires facing withdrawal symptoms head-on. The anxiety that comes with setting boundaries isn't a warning to stop. It's the final resistance of a dying habit. Each time you withstand that discomfort, you're rewiring your nervous system to associate self-respect with safety rather than danger. What feels like risk today will feel like second nature tomorrow if you persist. Start with the smallest possible no. Decline that extra task at work that isn't your responsibility. Tell the pushy salesperson you're not interested without softening it with excuses. Say you can't make it to a social event without inventing an elaborate reason why. These tiny acts of self-assertion are like seeds, insignificant in the moment, but containing the blueprint for an unshakable tree of self-respect that will grow over time if nurtured. Notice what happens after you say no. The world doesn't end. People don't hate you. In most cases, they barely react. The catastrophic outcomes you feared exist only in your imagination, fed by years of conditioning that taught you compliance equals safety. The truth is, people respect those who respect themselves. The more you demonstrate you won't be taken for granted, the less others will try to take from you. This transformation happens gradually, through daily practice. Each time you honor your own needs over someone else's convenience, you deposit strength into your emotional bank account. Over time, these small deposits compound into unshakable self-worth. You'll know the change is real when you start feeling the discomfort before saying yes, rather than before saying no. When the idea of betraying yourself becomes more painful than the temporary awkwardness of asserting your boundaries. The people who truly care about you will adjust to this new version of you. Those who only valued your compliance will fade away. This isn't loss, it's purification. Your circle may become smaller, but its quality will increase dramatically. You'll attract people who respect strength rather than exploit weakness, who value authenticity over flattery. Remember, every master was once a beginner. The warrior you admire for his unshakable presence didn't start that way. He built it, one small act of courage at a time. Your journey is no different. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can, the rest will follow. The ultimate test: would the Shaolin monk tolerate this? There exists a simple question that cuts through all confusion about boundaries and self-respect. Would a warrior of old tolerate this? When faced with demands on your time, energy or peace, ask this, and the answer will always guide you through. The ancient masters didn't achieve legendary discipline by accommodating every request. They became who they were by knowing exactly what to allow into their sacred space and what to keep out. Your life is your temple. Every yes you say is an offering at its altar. Every commitment you make tends its grounds. Ask yourself, are you filling your temple with worthy offerings, or allowing it to be littered with the trash of other people's demand? The warrior protects what's sacred, not through aggression, but through unwavering discernment about what deserves entry. Apply this test next time you're pressured to sacrifice your well-being for someone else's convenience. When asked to work late unnecessarily, would a warrior abandon his training for this? When guilted into attending an event you don't want to go to, would a master interrupt his meditation for this? When tempted to engage in pointless conflict, would a sage waste his energy on this? The clarity will shock you. Modern life has trained us to tolerate what no self-respecting warrior would ever allow: constant interruptions, chronic overcommitment, relationships that drain rather than nourish. We've normalized disrespect in the name of politeness, accepted exhaustion as the price of belonging. The ancient ways offer a different path, one where your energy is sacred, your focus is unbroken, and your presence is earned rather than given freely to all. This isn't about recreating some mythical past, but about applying timeless principles to modern problems. The warrior monks didn't have to deal with social media notifications or overflowing inboxes, but they understood the fundamental truth that attention is life's most precious currency. Every distraction you allow, every demand you accept, is a withdrawal from your finite reserves of focus and energy. Begin applying this test today. Before automatically saying yes to another commitment, pause and ask the question. You'll quickly notice how much of what you tolerate is beneath your dignity as someone seeking mastery over their life. The more you use this filter, the more your life will naturally align with what truly matters, not the endless chasing of approval, but the quiet certainty of self-possession. Some will call this selfish. Let them. The same people calling you selfish are usually the ones most eager to spend your time and energy on their priorities. True selfishness is demanding others sacrifice themselves for your convenience. Healthy self-respect is simply recognizing that your life belongs to you first. The warrior's path isn't about accumulating more, but about protecting what's essential, not about adding armor, but about removing vulnerabilities. Each time you ask, would a warrior tolerate that, and act on the answer, you're not just making a better decision in the moment, you're sculpting yourself into someone for whom such decisions become second nature. Your temple gates stand open by default, in a world that will happily walk in and take whatever it wants. The question isn't whether you should guard them, it's whether you'll start today, or wait until there's nothing left worth protecting. The warrior knows, now is always the right time to defend what matters. Being nice won't protect you, balance will. Stop confusing kindness with weakness. The world doesn't reward saints, it rewards those who respect themselves first.